You're standing in the kitchen, scooping out another cup of kibble. Your dog sits there staring at you the way he always does. Patient, tail moving slow, waiting. You pour it in the bowl. He walks over, sniffs it, eats it. Same thing he did yesterday. Same thing he'll do tomorrow. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you've probably told yourself, he's fine. He eats. He's healthy. The bag says complete and balanced. What else do I need to know? But here's the question no one thinks to ask. What if the food sitting in that bowl, the one you've been buying every month for years, is actually holding your dog back from being as healthy as he could be? Not because it's dangerous, but because there are foods sitting in your kitchen right now, foods you eat every day, that your dog's body can use better, absorb more completely, and that have been tested in veterinary studies to do things that standard kibble simply cannot. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you 12 human foods that science says are genuinely beneficial for dogs. And the one thing most owners do with at least 2 of them that cancels out every single benefit. Most dog owners think about food in simple terms. Is it safe or is it not? And that's a fair way to think about it, because the list of human foods that can hurt a dog is real and important. Grapes, onions, chocolate, xylitol, those aren't myths. They're genuinely toxic. But that's where the conversation usually stops. Safe versus unsafe. What very few owners realize is that there's a third category, human foods that aren't just safe, but actively beneficial. Foods that contain nutrients dogs can absorb more efficiently from whole sources than from the processed versions found in most commercial foods. A study published in Translational Animal Science by researchers at the University of Illinois found that human-grade whole food ingredients are significantly more digestible than standard kibble formulations. That means your dog's body is extracting more from each meal when the food source is minimally processed. And more recently, a year-long metabolomic study conducted under the supervision of Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine found that dogs fed fresh, minimally processed food showed a rapid and sustained metabolic shift within the first month, lower levels of harmful compounds linked to aging and chronic disease, better markers for muscle health, innate and stronger antioxidant defense. Most owners look at their dog's kibble and see complete and balanced on the label and think the job is done. But complete and balanced means the minimum nutritional requirements are met. It doesn't mean optimal. There's a significant difference between surviving on a diet and thriving on one. So what does that actually look like in practice? Let's talk about 12 specific human foods, what they do, why they work, and exactly how to give them. The first is cooked salmon. Salmon is one of the most studied foods in veterinary nutrition. A randomized, double-blind, multi-center clinical trial published in the journal Prostaglandins, Leukotrienes, and Essential Fatty Acids found that dogs with osteoarthritis who received omega-3 supplementation from fish sources showed significant improvement in pain scores, lameness, and joint mobility within 3 months. The EPA and DHA in salmon directly reduce inflammatory compounds in the body. You give it plain, fully cooked, boneless, no seasonings. The second is blueberries. A 2006 study from the University of Alaska Fairbanks found that blueberry supplementation significantly elevated antioxidant status in sled dogs after intense exercise. A separate study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science showed that senior dogs fed a diet enriched with blueberry extract for 75 days performed better on memory tasks than those on a standard diet. The anthocyanins in blueberries protect brain cells and support healthy aging. Fresh or frozen, a small handful a few times a week. Third is pumpkin. Plain, canned, no spices. According to the Merck Veterinary Manual, on a 1 to 4 tablespoons per meal can normalize digestion in both constipated and loose stool dogs. The soluble fiber absorbs water to firm loose stools. The insoluble fiber adds bulk to move things along when they're stuck. It also acts as a prebiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your dog's gut, and it's low in calories. 1 cup contains roughly 80 calories. Fourth, cooked eggs. Eggs provide complete protein with all essential amino acids, along with vitamin D, selenium, and riboflavin. They're one of the most bioavailable protein sources available. Fully cooked, not raw, because raw egg whites interfere with biotin absorption. Fifth, carrots. They're high in fiber, low in calories, and rich in beta-carotene, which supports immune function, skin, and coat. The American Kennel Club notes they also help mechanically clean plaque from teeth as your dog chews. Sixth, cooked chicken. Plain, boneless, unseasoned. Lean protein, highly digestible and one of the most common ingredients in veterinary prescription diets for a reason. It's the go-to food when a dog is recovering from gastrointestinal upset because of how easy it is on the digestive system. 7th, sweet potato. Rich in dietary fiber, vitamins A, C, and B6, and manganese. Veterinarians frequently recommend it as a digestive supplement, and it's used in many high-quality commercial formulas as a primary carbohydrate source. Always cooked and plain. 8th, green beans. They're high in fiber, low in calories, and contain iron, calcium, and vitamins K and C. Toss. Some veterinary weight management protocols actually use green beans as a partial food replacement to reduce caloric intake without leaving a dog hungry. 9th, plain cooked turkey. Turkey provides lean protein and is so well tolerated that it's used as the primary protein in many hypoallergenic veterinary prescription diets. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's nutritional data confirms it's high in protein with relatively low fat content. Skin and bones removed. 10th, sardines. Canned in water, no salt added. Sardines pack the same omega-3 benefits as salmon but have soft digestible bones, which provide additional calcium. They're small fish, which means lower mercury accumulation. 11th, plain cooked oatmeal. Oats are a source of soluble fiber that supports gut health and can help stabilize blood sugar. The American Kennel Club notes they're particularly beneficial for dogs with wheat sensitivities. 12th, cooked broccoli. Small portions. It's high in vitamin C and fiber, and both raw and cooked versions are safe in moderation. Keep it to less than 10% of daily food intake, since large amounts can cause mild gastric irritation. Now, here's the part that matters. All of that information is useless if you add seasoning. No salt, no garlic, no onion, no butter, no oil. Garlic and onions in any form, raw, cooked, or powdered, damage red blood cells in dogs. Even small amounts accumulated over time can cause toxicity. This is the mistake that cancels every benefit. Plain means plain, so why don't more owners know about this? A few reasons that have nothing to do with negligence. The first is how pet food marketing is structured. A bag that says complete and balanced is technically accurate. It meets the minimum standards set by the Association of American Feed Control Officials. But that language was never designed to mean optimal. It means legally sufficient. The marketing around it, however, has turned it into something that sounds definitive. The second is that veterinarians, for understandable reasons, have historically been cautious about recommending human food. The concern was always the dangerous items, chocolate, grapes, xylitol, and general advice got simplified to avoid confusion. The nuance about genuinely beneficial whole foods got lost in the process. The third is that the research on fresh, whole food diets for dogs is actually quite new. The University of Illinois digestibility study wasn't published until 2019. The Cornell University metabolomics study was published in 2025. This is recent science, and it takes time to filter into mainstream awareness. And the fourth is how quickly human foods can go from beneficial to harmful depending on preparation. Garlic is so commonly used in cooking that it's practically invisible in recipes. It's in stocks, seasonings, marinades, leftovers. What makes a piece of chicken perfectly healthy for your dog is one step: leaving out everything that you would normally add to make it taste good to you. Here's the inversion that most dog owners never arrive at. The question isn't whether human food is safe for your dog. Some of it absolutely isn't. The question is whether the highly processed, heat-extruded food in a bag is the ceiling for what your dog's body can do, or just the floor. The Cornell University study found that dogs eating minimally processed whole food ingredients showed metabolic improvements in the first month, not after years, 1 month. Lower compounds linked to aging and chronic disease, higher levels of protective metabolites associated with muscle health and antioxidant defense. The University of Illinois research found that human-grade ingredients are significantly more digestible than standard kibble. Dogs fed whole food diets in separate research produced up to 66% less waste, a direct indicator of how much more the body was actually absorbing. Dogs that don't get this information keep eating food that technically meets minimum requirements, and their owners keep wondering why the coat isn't as good as it used to be, why the energy dropped, why the joints started going early. Not because kibble is poisonous, but because there was a better option available and no one mentioned it. You're here, you watched this far. That already puts you ahead of most. Remember what I said at the beginning. I think there's something that most owners do with at least 2 of these foods that cancels every benefit. Here it is. They add seasonings. Garlic and onion in any form are toxic to dogs at cumulative doses. The N-propyl disulfide compound in both damages red blood cells and causes anemia. The ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center lists both among the most dangerous foods for dogs. Even when the amounts seem small, repeated exposure adds up. If you cook chicken for your dog, it needs to come from a separate preparation, not from the dinner you made for yourself. Here's how to start. You don't need to overhaul your dog's entire diet. Start with 2 or 3 of these foods as additions to what your dog already eats. Treats and food additions should stay around 10% of daily caloric intake. That's the guideline from UC Davis's School of Veterinary Medicine to prevent nutritional imbalance. Practical rotation to start. Cooked salmon or sardines 2 to 3 times a week, a small handful of blueberries as a treat, 1 to 2 tablespoons of plain pumpkin mixed into regular meals if your dog has any digestive irregularity, and plain cooked chicken or eggs when you want a high protein addition. What not to do: don't give grapes, raisins, chocolate, onions, garlic, macadamia nuts, xylitol, or raw egg whites. Don't assume that because something is healthy for humans, it transfers automatically. The 12 foods in this video are specifically ones with veterinary research supporting their use. Signs to go to your veterinarian. If your dog has kidney disease, peas and high phosphorus foods need to be restricted. Confirm any dietary changes with your vet first. If your dog has diabetes or pancreatitis, fat content and sugar levels in any addition matter. If you introduce a new food and see vomiting, diarrhea lasting more than 24 hours, or any allergic response like hives or facial swelling, stop immediately and call your vet. One more thing. Introduce new foods one at a time over several days. This lets you see how your individual dog responds, and it lets you catch sensitivities before they become problems. You know your dog better than any label does. Trust what you observe. The next time you're standing in that kitchen, scooping that cup of kibble, you're going to remember this. And you might glance at the counter, at the blueberries in the bowl, at the salmon in the fridge, at the can of plain pumpkin in the pantry, and instead of thinking those are just things you eat, you're going to think, some of that belongs in his bowl too, because now you know. It's not about replacing what works, it's about understanding that what's in your kitchen has been sitting there the whole time, quietly capable of doing more for your dog than you realized. The label on the bag tells you the minimum. Science is starting to tell us what optimal actually looks like. Your dog doesn't need a perfect diet overnight. He needs an owner who pays attention, who learns, and who makes small decisions that add up over years. That's exactly what you're doing right now. The best thing you can feed your dog is information and then act on it. If this video helped you see your dog's meals differently, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And tell me in the comments, which of these 12 foods are you going to try first? Has your dog already had any of them? Next week, we're going into something that might surprise you even more. 6 things you do every day that are damaging your dog's kidneys. Some of them are things every owner does without a second thought, and the kidneys are one of the quietest organs to fail until it's already serious. Don't miss it.